What do you think about Crime Crochet with Zay? That's me. Listen, I've been trying to do this for a while. My son told me I should. He was like, just do it, just do it, just do it. But he wanted me to do a podcast, and I don't know anything about that. So I was thinking about talking about crime shows while I show you crochet, but I'm doing both things with your mind, right? A lot of people don't realize that crocheters love crime shows like we do. We can binge watch. I know I can. And I don't know if it was because I always wanted to be in forensics, but it can't be like Law and Order, like boom, boom. It's got to be the real thing, right? So I want to keep it between 5 and 7 minutes, and I'll kind of tell you who that person is at the end. But crochet with me and hear it, and so let me know. I really want to know what you think, okay? And I appreciate you guys just dealing with me as I figure it out. All right, so I'm going to do that, and I won't tell you who that person is until the end. So let's get it cracking. This American serial killer, who in the 1870s became one of the most notorious criminals in the United States at a very young age. His story is deeply tragic, both in terms of his own history and the horrific crimes that he committed. I'm not going to tell you who he is, but he was born November 29th, 1859 in Charlestown, Massachusetts, to a working class family. His parents were immigrants, and he was marked by a degree of instability. His mom in particular was really, really strict, and his dad wasn't around because he was a shoemaker, so he didn't do a lot with his upbringing. Now, from an early age, he displayed troubling behavior. He was often described as a loner, withdrawn, socially awkward, and he had a habit of bullying younger children and displaying sadistic tendencies, which would later emerge in his crimes. By the time he was in his teens, it was clear he had a dark side. He began to show signs of being deeply disturbed, having personality disorders, and his later actions would suggest that he might even be a psychopath. Now, his first crime occurred in 1872 when he was 12. 12! He was arrested for brutally attacking a 10-year-old boy for no apparent reason other than to satisfy his sadistic tendencies and that urge. The boy was left with marks of torture visibly on his body. And he was initially charged with assault and battery, but the case was handled lightly due to his age. Remember, he was 12. He was placed in the custody of his mother rather than being incarcerated. Now, however, his violent tendencies only worsened over time, and in 1874, at 14, it escalated to murder. He lured young children into secluded areas and attacked them with knives, strangulation, sometimes disfiguring their bodies. Now, his victims were typically boys between the ages of 4 and 10, and the manner just continued to get more gruesome and more gruesome. Now, the two most well-known victims of this serial killer was 4-year-old Horace and 10-year-old William Palmer. In both cases, the boys were lured to secluded isolation where this serial killer inflicted severe torturous things to their body. Now, the investigation into the murders were slow, as the police had no immediate leads. However, the suspicion grew around him as a result of his strange behavior and the increasing number of attacks on young children. He was also known to have been in the vicinity of the crimes, and rumors about his odd behavior began to circulate. Now, in 1874, he was finally apprehended after a police investigation linked him to the murders. The authorities discovered that he had confessed to some of the crimes, though he initially denied any involvement. Now, during his trial, it became clear that his disturbed and sadistic nature displaying a lack of remorse for his actions. The trial was a sensation at that time, and it drew the attention of people because of his youth. At 14, he was arrested, and he created a public debate on someone so young could be held responsible for horrific crimes. Now, despite his youth, he was convicted of the murders of Horace as well as William. The courts sentenced him to death. But due to his age, the sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. The case marked one of the earliest instances in American history where a juvenile was sentenced to life imprisonment for a murder. Now, he was held in the Massachusetts State Prison where he spent the rest of his life. He was known to have been a model prisoner, but his past haunted him, and he was reported isolated for the general public because of that sentence, and they deemed him to be too dangerous. Over the years, the details of his childhood and his psychological makeup was studied by criminologists. His case was one of the first brought to the attention of the concept of juvenile delinquency and the potential for young people to commit violent crimes. He died in prison September 29, 1932, at the age of 72. Now, his crimes were among most of the disturbing in early American criminal history, and his case raised significant questions about the treatment of juvenile offenders. He remains one of the youngest serial killers in American history, and his case continues to be the subject of fascination for criminologists and psychologists. Now, the brutality of his crimes, combined with his youth, has made him a tragic, horrifying figure in the American criminal justice history. His story serves as a chilling reminder that the dark potential within some individuals and the need for careful attention to psychological well-being of young people. In conclusion, this serial killer was a disturbed young boy whose descent into violence left a lasting mark on American criminal history. His case remains a poignant example of intersection between mental illness, childhood abuse, and violent crime, and it continues to captivate those who are interested in understanding the complexities of criminal behavior. What do you think? His name was Jesse Holloway. This is how far I've gotten.